And we're back. You good on camera? I'm good. We are back on the Daddy Issues podcast for another episode with a very special guest today in the building. Lito, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Yo, I want to thank everybody for the feedback I've been getting, we've been getting. You know, I walk around. I'm used to being behind the scenes. Like all the projects we do, I'm never on camera because I really don't care to be.
He got a face for the radio.
I got a face for it. This belongs on the tizzy. No, but I'm very grateful for the feedback that we've been getting. People, they want to be on the show, so you know, tell them how they can contact us and get on.
So on whatever platform you're watching, Instagram, mostly YouTube, just send us a message. You can email us at the link below on YouTube or any of our links. We're very easy to get to. I'm always on the phone or doing some kind of business. So anybody wants to reach out, we're doing this. I told for the therapy of it. This is not some cash grab or whatever. This is more of a, like, we really are fathers and we love doing this and we love talking about our children and our journey. So reach out, use the links below, and you'll see that we love the love coming from the outside. But to get into it today, we have a very special guest. You may have seen him on many different platforms. I know he has a documentary with Tanya Lewis Lee, and also just putting his story out there. Also, he was on the Breakfast Club, I think last year, and just an all around good guy. And it just so happens he's a good friend of ours from way back. We want to welcome Omari Maynard to the building.
Oh,
yes. Clap it up.
And he's brought, as you can see, a very special guest. Your name? Kari Maynard.
Kari Nile.
Kari Nile Maynard. Yeah,
that's the river, right? In Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
That's dope. I love that.
So we'll get into Omari's story. But the first thing we always ask Omari when we do a podcast is, who are you a father to?
I'm a father to Kari Nile Kojo Maynard, to Anari Naja Abina Maynard, and to Uriah Hasibi Kasim Maynard.
There you go.
My three children. So Uriah is 17, Anari is 7, and Kari is 4.
All right. Four is that age, right?
That's my favorite age. I've said it before on this podcast. So Kari, you doing your thing at 4 years old. I've been interacting with you for a few minutes, and I already see you're a very smart guy, lovable, funny. I'm feeling you.
That's it. Anything you want to say to us before we start? Because we got some questions for you.
Anything you want to say?
No.
Happy to be here?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yes and no?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay.
So Omari, we go back. Outtake, no, but Omari, we go back. We know his story. Just last year, I listened to the Breakfast Club, and Omari's on there, and I didn't know everything that I found out until I actually listened, because we go back to high school. We go back to Midwife High School at Brooklyn College. Omari, y'all may not know this, sharpshooter. He was Steph before Steph. He played on Midwives basketball team with myself. Lito was on JV at the time.
You
And
have to say it like that.
Yeah.
no, he was younger.
I'm younger than y'all.
Younger, yeah. So Omari was a year ahead of me, and I looked up to him and the rest of the guys on the team. He could really ball guys, you know, and we sometimes talk about basketball on this. And I just so happened, we played in a tournament, I think, a few years ago in the park on the Lower East Side.
Yeah, definitely. LES.
LES, oh, you remember?
Yeah.
I don't know how I saw you, and he was like, "Yo, you playing anything?" I was like, "Yeah, we play at LES." And Omari played with us that summer. And it just so happens we all became fathers. And last year I was watching the Breakfast Club, and his story is something profound, and I'm gonna let him talk about his journey as a father. Did you had another question before that?
We could start with Omari.
Okay.
We'll come back to all the questions.
So yeah, my journey as a father has been a long one, really. Pause. So my eldest son, his birthday is December 21st, 2006.
Me?
No, Uriah. So I was 25.
Wow.
fairly young dad, I guess, but it was a lot of transition during that time. I just started grad school, in September or August, and then he was born in December. So, like, I was working.
My birthday?
No, your birthday's in September, yes. But so during that time, I was working. I was going to school. I had 4 jobs at that point. I was working with the department at the school. I was working. I did an internship with the Orlando Magic. I was doing ticket sales and then doing like in-game stuff. Going to school, and I was working at Red Lobster. So during that time, like, I bring that up because that was probably the most stressful time period of my life. I had developed shingles.
Wow.
I was like 23, 20, just from not sleeping and moving and the stress
And
of
Bay biscuits, right?
yeah, exactly. Too much of the biscuits.
Yeah.
It's just the stress of not knowing what I'm doing as a father, But
When you found out that news, for however it happened,
yeah.
you were scared. You were scared out your.
I didn't know what it was. Like, it was my side it was burning, and
I was saying the pregnancy.
oh yeah, it was, yeah. So
I'm sure at 25,
it
you're
was
just like, what?
And at the time, like, me and his mom, like, we were newly separated. Like, I wasn't like we tried, and it just wasn't really working out. And like I said, I was like, I'm going to grad school. I got this whole new chapter in my life. So, I think it's probably best that we just, be single. And then a couple of weeks later, I guess, a couple months later, she was like, yeah, I'm pregnant. And so, that was a whole different type of shift. But we tried to make it work for another 3 years, and eventually we ended up separating. But, like, so all of this is happening while I'm trying to navigate and figure out my next steps in life, and like pursuing my dreams and all of that. But I knew at that point, as a father, like, there was never like a thought of negotiating space without my child, right? It was just figuring out how to just make it all work. And again, super stressful, crazy times, but thankfully I had support. I had support of, I was in Florida by myself at the time, but like the people I went to school with, super supportive. Of course, my son's mother is super supportive. We tried to, make it work, and we did. And now, 17 years later, he's about to go to college. He's playing football. He plays ball, but he plays football now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's starting to get some scholarship offers. So, like, look at you. It's a podcast. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all
I
good.
hope y'all can hear me.
It's all good.
Yeah, thankfully he's starting to get some scholarships in. So prayerfully he gets a full ride somewhere.
That's all we need is free college.
Exactly. All we need
Lita
is
always
free
says
college.
free college.
Hallelujah.
She gonna play basketball, whatever.
Look, she's shaking her head over there, but you're going to play something.
Something. Basketball, rowing,
Yep.
tennis, something.
Yep. 'Cause
Volleyball.
If we had that, that would have. I mean, we still went to college and all that stuff, but that really is like a springboard to help us. So
Yeah.
no pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you become a father,
Yeah.
and then how many years later?
Yeah, so fast forward 10 years later, I have my daughter, Omari, and, I have my daughter with my partner, Shamony Gibson. And, at that point, it was interesting. Like, me and Shamony knew each other for some years, but, like, we started in a monogamous, like, relationship in, let's say, April. April was our, like, anniversary date. And, like, the end of those first 2 or 3 years, and then finding out we have Kari, like I went into like depression, of just, I think, just mourning the changes that were going on in my life, and mourning the fact that I really couldn't be this, or mourning the fact that I wasn't going to be the same Omari, but that I had to do the work to shift to be a different type of person and parent, and that was a whole.
I'm not gonna front. I go through the same thing now.
Yeah,
I think every man does when you have a kid, because your old self dies, right? Now you a dad, a partner to somebody, or a husband, and like the priority comes off yourself and onto your family.
Exactly. And it was wild. It would be like, man, I'm trying to play basketball. Like, all right, cool. You could play. She telling me you could play on Thursday or Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8:30, and I'm like, what you mean I could do that? So I'd be like, all right, cool. 7:32 comes along. Where you at? First of all, nobody's at the park at 7 o'clock. I might be able to get a half a game in. 7:32, she called me, where you at? And like, bro, this is not it. But it was what I needed. It was the shift that I needed to understand, like, it's not just me now. I gotta do this for everybody while getting whatever I could get in, if I can get it in. But it's about us.
Yeah, and we had a whole episode about that, about dad ventures, dad activities. How do we shift from going from, we pick up the ball. Yeah. We go to whatever park. It'd be whatever park in Brooklyn, playing football on Sundays or taking a trip, to now, oh man, I got to do this, not just with a woman now. And with my boys, like, how do we mentally go from that to that? But like you said, I'm going through that now because I can't just get up and leave, So before I get to the next moment, was there an old-ish I'm a father moment? Like a moment that hit you, it could have been at the first child, second time, like, oh man, I'm a father. Like, I'm gonna give you my first time, and I always say this was when the first time she left me with her by myself. That was my old-ish I'm a father moment. Like, I can't give this to my mom. I can't get, she left because she's been with the baby for weeks now. That was my old-ish I'm a father moment. And then I go through the whole, oh man, I'm scared. She don't wake up. I'm testing the breast milk, and I'm tasting it for the first time. We always talk about that, but do you have a moment like that?
Sheesh. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. I got 3 kids, man, so I've been doing this for a little minute.
At least 17 years.
Like, something,
But I think that, like, the first time, like, they were all really together. So my oldest son lives in Florida, but he, before he was really, really playing football, he'd be out here every summer, every Christmas, or the longer holidays. He'd come and stay. And I remember the New Year's of Kari being in Shamony's stomach, and then my daughter and my son, because that was during the pandemic time too, so I had them for a while longer. And actually it was like a year before the pandemic. But long story short, like, having everybody in the house and being like, damn, this is my space, these are my kids.
Yeah.
And this is my partner, and it's like, this is I'm washed. This is it.
That wash feeling is like, man, I used to be. It's like you watching these young kids play. Like, I used to dunk and all that. Like, I used to, But okay, so we get to COVID. He's a COVID.
Pretty COVID. Much. So like, all right. So Kari was born September 23rd, 2019. Wow, and right so it was right before, it was like maybe 5 months before COVID. Shamony at that point was 30 years old, so this was our second child. So to rewind just a little bit, right? So I started kind of getting out of that like depression-ish phase, like once, like maybe the last trimester of Kari, and like really starting to embrace, all right, I'm a dad. This is it. Like, we're going to do this together. It's going to be amazing. Kari wasn't necessarily, we knew we wanted to have another child. Kari wasn't necessarily planned, but like, it was, I was ecstatic, of learning that he was going to be coming into the world. And when we had Inari, like, we had a birthing plan and all that stuff. We had a midwife, we had a doula. Wasn't exactly the team that we wanted, so we ended up switching them and getting a different midwife and going with a black midwifery service with all black women essentially.
Yeah.
And it was dope. It was dope. And then, like I said, Shamony was healthy. She was good. You know, we were doing all the classes. I was going all to the OB visits, and everything was smooth. Then we had Kari. We were gonna have an at-home birth because, like I said, we weren't satisfied with how Anari came into the world, so we were gonna have an at-home birth. It didn't happen like that though. Shamony wasn't dilating the way that she needed to, so we figured the best step would be for us to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital. Long story short, she ended up having to have a C-section, and during that C-section, the doctor also tried to took out some of her fibroids. And at the time, we thought that was a good thing, you know. But hindsight, you know, she was open for too long. You know, that's a whole separate surgery that you got to go in for.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about my journey with that.
Yeah. So, and I think that was really kind of the start of the ending. You know, we end up getting home. Shamani's good. Kari's good. A couple of days later, she starts complaining about having chest pains and having shortness of breath and being hard to walk up steps and stuff like that. You know, and at the time, and still though, Shamani's mom is Shamony Gibson, and she's been in the maternal healthcare space for decades. You know, so as soon as, you know, we told her the signs and symptoms, she was like, oh, she's probably she could possibly have a pulmonary embolism. You know, there's possibly blood clots moving through her body from her being open for so long. You know, that's just something that naturally also happens when you have a C-section. You know, you're just more susceptible to having blood clots. So, you know, with that said, we told the doctors, we let them know. And like I said, you know, our family's been in that space for decades. So, you know, the hospital that we ended up giving birth at, we knew the head of the nursing team. You know, we knew the labor and delivery nurses. We knew it. So we're texting them personally, letting them know what's going on. You know, and, you know, the advice that we got was she just needs to be comfortable, keep her feet up, you know, don't have her do too much. And honestly, that was probably the worst advice that we could have got, you know, because that's what allows blood clots to move. Went to the doctors about 2 or 3 times during that 13-day period. One to get Shamani staples removed, and then also for like some nutrition, something or other for Kari. And we told them, you know, what was going on, but still they didn't really do anything because her date for her examination was, I think, 6 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks. After you have a C-section, you go and get evaluated. You know, but so I say all of that to say that 13 days later, she ended up going into cardiac arrest, and she ended up passing away 12 hours later. And that, you know, was definitely the worst and hardest thing I've ever experienced, to lose somebody so close to me, who was so young, who we had so many dreams, aspirations, goals together. You know, yeah, I've never experienced that. So now, you know, I'm left with, again, my son is in Florida at the time, you know, but I'm left with 2 extremely young children, you know, 2.5, 3 years old. And Kari at the time was 2 weeks old, you know, and trying to manage this new experience, this new world.
In the middle of COVID.
Yes. And then 3 months later, COVID hits. You know, honestly, for me, COVID was probably the best time.
Oh yeah.
For me, in my personal spiritual recovery. And again, you can probably hear me say this about 10 times throughout this podcast, like community. Like there was so when that happened, right? Thankfully, like I said, a couple of days before, you know, we knew the signs and symptoms. Shamani's mom was like, listen, let's call the community. Let's get everybody, let everybody know what's going on so that we could bring food to the house. We could be there for support. so she doesn't have to do anything. So at the time, like, we had people coming, like, days before her passing, we had people just coming to the house and helping out and stuff like that. And I say that to say I'm so thankful, because the day that she ended up transitioning, her mom was there at the house, her aunt was at the house, and her god sister was at the house. So it wasn't just me by myself. If it was me by myself, like, I don't know what the heck I don't know what would have happened. I wouldn't be here. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be here today. So having the family there to help in that and navigate in that whole experience, but also too to have them be there and share in her last moments, it meant so much to me, to all of us. And then of course, at that point, now we fast forward, and I'm like, I was managing seconds. I was managing seconds of my life, trying to figure out what I can mentally take second by second. And so taking care of the kids wasn't even a thing. Like, taking care of myself was hardly a thing, but I had, again, my mom was there at the time, her mom, her sister, her family, my family, and they would all come to the house. And at that point, I was in the basement painting. So fast forward to, rewind. Shamony and I have an organization, have a business called Artful Living. And we would do like sip and paints, paint parties, and all that great stuff, right? I started painting probably about 10 years ago and really started taking it seriously probably about 5 years ago. And so now, like, that was all I had the capacity to really do. And at the time, I knew about art therapy. And if I had to coin it and call it something, I would call it art therapy now. But it was really like, I just needed to focus on something else except what was going on in my world, in the outside. And I was painting, pictures, just pictures, painting pictures after pictures. And at that point is when I could really start putting these puzzle pieces back together, understanding what's happening, where I'm at, how I'm feeling emotionally, putting this negative, low vibrational energy into something else, right? And then creating more space for me to figure and navigate, all right, how am I going to be moving on? What is the plan moving forward? And thankfully too, I'm painting different pieces, and Shamony's mom, she's a very action-oriented person. And now I'm always on some, let's do it. Let's do it type of person. So, after the funeral, we were like, we want to have an event. We want to put an event together for the community so that we could all honor Shamony. So that, but more importantly, so we can really talk about what actually happens to her, and how this can happen to anybody, especially in the Black and brown community.
Especially because I know I've heard stories myself of people, like I had a cousin recently had a baby. Same thing you said, didn't dilate enough. They wanted to rush you in for a C-section. Have a coworker, her daughter was giving birth, same thing, didn't dilate enough. They rushed in C-sections. I'm like, why? You asked the question, why are they doing this? Yeah. It's probably because.
Listen, we could get into that
right.
too.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's because it's a business.
Money, right.
Yeah, I didn't. Wife, I could put it out there. She has to have a C-section because of the fibroid she had. That's what was told to us, right? Have the C-section. First of all, I'm gonna say this, Omari. My condolences. I know you hear this a lot. It's been 4 years about.
Yeah.
I could never, and I tried to, when I knew I was preparing for this, I couldn't imagine raising that baby without my wife. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
To have it during COVID, to have it 3 weeks after, like, I don't know what you did, but you need to put it in a bottle and sell it to all fathers and widows or widowers who need to get through it, because I can't, when she gets sick, it's the little things. I'm not as manly as I probably project. So whatever you did, man, God bless you, because I'm gonna just say that. And I never got to tell you that because I haven't seen you in years, but I just wanted to get that out the way, and I'm sure I
I see Ola getting emotional. He's an emotional guy. So I expect that from him.
Yeah, I would say that. But also, with another thing I'm gonna say is she's pregnant now. Thanks. And she is gonna have to have another C-section. And just hearing you on the Breakfast Club, I was like, yo, son, this ain't fibroids. She's C-section. All that could just happen. It could happen in our household. Yeah. So I'm like, how do you even, like, you've learned so much going through this, right? I mean, first of all, midwife, like, why did you decide to do a midwife, doula? And
so community, like, just being in that reproductive justice, her mom really being in that reproductive justice space. We've had relationships with midwives and doulas forever, you know? So, like, that was it wasn't even a question like, hey, what can we do? And let me research something. It was, she's pregnant, she's going to have a midwife, she's going to have a doula, you know? And, but to why you should have one is because, again, when a Black woman goes into a hospital to have these children, to have our children, excuse me. So we talk about not dilating long enough, right? When you have any birth, the baby comes when the baby wants to come. Yeah. And that's really what it should be. Yep. But because of the fact that they're trying to
turn his room around.
Exactly. That they give you a certain amount of time. They try to force the dilation to happen in order to get the baby out. And if it doesn't happen within a certain amount of time, 9 times out of 9, they're going to say C-section, right? And C-sections take about 45 minutes as opposed to a natural birth, which is more between 6 hours to maybe 12 to 24 hours. Who knows? Yep. You know, so, and a natural birth, I think the hospital may get charged or may be able to bill for maybe about $10,000 to $12,000 as opposed to a C-section where they could bill for about $20,000 to $25,000, right? So if you're doubling the price and minimizing the time for 45 minutes, hell yeah, they're going to be
business-wise, right?
Exactly. And when we talk about the medical system and this business of healthcare, the bodies that they're practicing on are Black and brown bodies. So they need to practice, and this is why, again, I speak to so many parents who've had births at hospitals where the medical team comes in with 12, 13, 15 students to just observe.
I didn't even think about that. When would they practice this? It has to be live.
Yeah, it's live. And this is why. This is how it looks, right?
Yeah.
So they'll come in and observe. They'll cut you. A woman could have a vaginal birth, but they'll still cut her open in order for them to practice how to sew back together.
Really?
Yeah, these things is happening. And another reason why you have so many C-sections. So people could practice how to sew, you know, and how to stitch women back together in real time. You know, and again, this is why our Black and brown bodies are being used, and this is how it's being used at such a higher alarming rate than any other, you know, race. You know, so I bring that back to say this is why it's so important to have a medical team, right? To have a midwife, to have a doula, to have a birthing plan, to make sure that, you know, the people who are in your circle understand what your birthing plan is, how you want to be treated, what you want, what you don't want. Because I mean, I know, even with all of this said, when the shit is hitting the fan and things are happening and they're like, we got to do this right now. And you got to sign this and do, like, you get overwhelmed, right? You don't know what to do. And it's like, all that stuff could go out the window. So that's why you need a team to be like, they might not be in the best space to make these decisions, but we already know what they asked for, so we can advocate for that.
That's what I was going to ask. Can you, like, refuse to have a
C-section? Yeah, of course. You can refuse, but know that when you refuse, and it's know that when you refuse, they're going to figure out and state all the reasons why you should. Mm-hmm. And even in the refusal, if you don't have a team around you, they'll do stuff regardless without your consent and approval, because this is what needs to be done, right? To save the life or to do whatever. You know, so again, it's important that you know what your rights are, you have your team, you have a plan. Because, you know, when you go in there, if you don't know or have any personal relationships with the staff or the people for them to care about your physical well-being and who you just are as a person, as opposed to being looked at as somebody who is number whatever, having this baby so that we can get you out of here and get number whatever in here to do the next delivery, then the odds aren't necessarily in your favor as it may be with somebody else who doesn't have melanin in their skin the way that we do.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
So she passes away, and now you said COVID actually was a blessing for you.
Yeah.
And okay, so now you're looking at your newborn baby. When did you say, you know what? Like, I gotta, not to say it was probably a day, but like, what's going through your mind? Late 2019, early 2020. What is going through your mind? Like,
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how to manage seconds. And then once I figured out how to manage seconds, I'm trying to manage my mental health minute by minute, man. But during that time, there was a journey. So during that time, reflecting now, it was increasing my mental, spiritual, and physical bandwidth. Like, that's really what it came down to. So like, people were reaching out just because, you know, they heard about the story, and got people reaching out like through social media, people that I know, strangers. And there's two gentlemen who didn't know at all, found out about my story, reached out to me on social media and shared with me their story about how they lost their partners and the things that they went through, and that if I needed anybody to talk to, hit them up, you know. And I didn't know how much I needed that, because as great as my family is, and as much as I love my friends, there were just certain things I couldn't tell them. Like, certain things I couldn't say. There's certain things that if I did, and when I did tell them, they couldn't understand. I'd get like what's the word I'm looking for? Not a loaded answer, but like
a generic.
Yeah, generic.
Like a chat GPT did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Appeasement.
Yeah,
you know?
appeasement. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I needed more than that, you know. And with those guys, I could tell them the wildest stuff, and they would understand where I'm coming from. If I was having suicide ideologies, you know, thankfully I didn't really, but if I did, or even had things that were on the cuffs of that, I knew I could talk to them about that because of the fact that they went through the same thing, you know, and like just certain questions that you could only understand and answer if you've been through that, you know. And once I got that, I knew that that was something that I needed and wanted to pay forward because of how much it helped me, you know, really start putting the pieces back together and figuring out how to navigate. And then the art, right? Being able to have art and use art as a tool to not only concentrate on something else, but to really sit down with myself, by myself, and start having conversations or putting emotions and spiritual things connected to what I couldn't even cognitively really understand, or couldn't put words to, right? And having an opportunity to be hyper focused on something else that would get me to that point was super important. And so that turned into doing the event we did an event at Weeksville for Shamony's birthday, December 19th, 2019, called Aftershock.
Cool.
And it was bringing the community together. Shamony and I were going to therapy, couples therapy, when she was here. Shamony's mom's best friend is a grief recovery counselor. And then the men that I met that I said that were strangers came to the event to speak on a panel. So on this panel, I've got a grief recovery counselor who I knew personally, so I had no problems telling him what the hell I was going through, and knowing that I was getting not just professional advice, but an advice from somebody who I looked up to and appreciated. My therapist was there and continued to go to therapy. So outside of my grief counsel, I had somebody to speak to, and a therapist who was a professional and who I knew, and who also knew Shamony, which is crazy. And then also two gentlemen who were strangers then, who are now I consider friends who could also help tell their own story, and we could create a community of Black brothers that could support each other. And doing this in real time with the community in the space, that was a physical manifestation of what I needed, what I knew I needed in order for me to take these next steps of recovery in my own personal life, right? So during that time too is when Paula Eiselt was the director, the producer of Aftershock, the film. She saw what we were doing online. She saw the flash. She's just like, yo, can I come? Because she wanted to make a film around maternal health. Came to the event. She was blown away by the event. And that's when she was like, yo, can I follow your family? And that was like the incubus of the Aftershock film that came out years after. So again, that physical manifestation of what my recovery needed to be. So that kind of really covered the emotional and spiritual wellness. But the physical piece came a couple of months after. So at this point, there's a ton of stuff happening. COVID is happening. I was telling my boy like all these things that were going on in my life. And he was like, all this sounds great, but like, how are you able to maintain and sustain yourself? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going. I'm just doing. And he was like, yo, honestly, he's like, I don't work out. Like, I don't like lift weights. I don't go to the gym. But what I do is I run. So he was like, yo, if you want to run with me, you know, we could do that. And I started running with him. And that was like the beginning of the understanding the importance of having a physical wellness plan or just being on a physical wellness journey, especially at this point, I was like 38 years old. Like I'm reaching my 40s, right? And the intentionality of making sure I'm pouring to myself physically. So I'm running and I'm running every day. At one point I was doing like 100 miles a month because there was just so much things that I was dealing with personally. But the thing about running that I love is that it takes you through this gamut of life every time you run, right? So first of all, nobody wants to fucking run. Nobody wants to do it. Yeah. So being intentional about getting up early, because now I got 2 kids too. So I'm doing this at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So I was like, I got to get up. I got to go to the party. I got to get my stuff on. So I go get there. He's there and having an accountability partner, I guess. Is that what he was at the time? It's super important to make sure that you get up and do the damn thing. So we start running. And the first 5 minutes is cool. And then like after 5-10 minutes, it's like, all right, this shit hurts. Now I don't want to do this. Exactly. Like we a quarter mile in. I got 3.5 miles to go. Like what the hell am I? But like anything, right? Like being able to get over the understanding idea that I'm on this thing and I'm going to do it until it's completed. So I'm running. Then in the first maybe like a mile and a half into, start getting comfortable with your breath and your breath work, your arms, your legs start to kind of coordinate. And then you start to gain some type of clarity. Then you hit that runner's high, right? And then about mile 2.5-ish, your body starts to break down again. And you're like, all right, I'm here, I'm in it, and I'm just going to push through it, right? And that was really like, outside of running, that was my daily arch. Damn, I don't want to get up today. Fuck it, I got to do it. All right, I'm into the day. Like I have a semblance of what I know and understand to be true. All right, I'm feeling good now. I could do this. Oh shit, I can't do this, but I'm going to get through it anyway and I'm going to do it. And that was the cycle.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. And that is what really made me understand like what I'm doing physically is what I can now transition spiritually and emotionally, right? So when I'm on my day-to-day don't want to do stuff, that's what I'm thinking about. Just do it, get to the point where you can do it comfortably and put as much, if you got 100%, put 100. If you got 20%, put 20. But make sure that's 100% of the 20. Right?
I say that all the time. Yeah. I tell people, I even tell my daughter, I'm like, whatever you do your best. Your best on Monday and your best on Tuesday might look completely different.
Definitely.
But as long as you do your best and you know that you put in everything you got into it, that's all we can ask for.
Definitely.
I think you had a question about.
I wrote down so many questions, but we let Omari go and he answered like,
all
90% of them.
Yep.
But I'm gonna find one. I'm gonna find
Yeah,
one.
nah. It's all good.
But I can't ask. Let's take it back to like a younger Omari.
Mm-hmm.
Who were the people or father figures in your life that kind of just who they were, and then we'll talk about like what they
Yeah,
did for you in
man.
the future.
Sheesh. So of course my dad, we could start with my dad. My dad, as an adult now, as I understand relationships a lot better, my mom and my dad weren't the most compatible people. It was essentially like they knew each other, met in college, a lot of lust, a lot of link ups, and they made me, right? But they did their best to try to make sure that they, could keep the unit together, and it just didn't work. A lot of hurt within their relationship, but it never transitioned into, I can't say never transitioned to, but didn't stop my father from wanting to see him be with me and pour into me. So my dad, even though he wasn't in the house, I'd see him every week. He'd come pick me up. We'd share things. I would say one of the biggest things that I've learned from my father, because he's a smart man, is he always challenged me mentally. Like, he would ask me questions as a 9, 10, 11-year-old that he knew I did not have the answers to. But he would ask them and want me to answer them. And it wasn't necessarily as an older person now. I knew it wasn't necessary to have a right answer, but to understand how to think and how to make connections. And in that, like, I'm super appreciative of that, because like I know so many people who don't know how to think, and don't understand the importance of not needing to know everything, but using your personal experiences in one place and knowing that it can be transferable and you can use it in other spaces and places. My brother, he's 7 years older than me, Kobler Moats. Someone that of course, that was who I really looked up to. Like, he was the guy,
My brother's 7 years older than me too. I looked up to him like crazy.
Man, he taught me everything.
Yeah.
I know, like how to dress,
Yep.
how to act, how to walk, how to talk, how to socialize, how to mess with women, how to draw, how to playing ball is because of him.
Yeah.
Like all the things that I wanted to be, he was. So that was like my blueprint.
Yeah, I got the same brother.
They got the same brother. Yeah, my brother. Yeah, and till this day, it's like he can't do no wrong in my eyes, because he's like the obviously I'm older now. I'm like, oh yeah, you were telling me all that. Yeah, but he's a teacher. I became a teacher. And this, that, and the third. But like, I get where you're coming from. You're teaching me everything. And I had another brother who was 2 years older than me. He passed. But having those brothers, or where's your family from, by the way?
Trinidad.
Oh, you Trinidadians.
Yeah.
So you had your father, you had your brother, any uncles, any?
Yeah, so my brother has, well, not uncles by blood. But my grandmother's brother, Uncle Leo, he's an artist. So he's the fucking man, Uncle Leo. Uncle Leo.
Shout out Uncle Leo.
Shout out
Uncle Leo. Shout out to Uncle Leo. He lived in St. Croix. He moved to St. Croix. He, so I visited, at this point, he's probably like in his 40s, 50s. We'd visit him. He lived right by the beach. He'd swim in the water every morning, smoking spliff. Could bag any woman he wanted. He was a professional artist, so he was the first person that I was able to see that could use their gifts and talents as an artist to create a lifestyle for himself, and I mean, he did so many. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Fulton Art Fair, but the Fulton Art Fair is like a collective of Black artists. And he helped start that I want to say it's been about 60 or 70 years now. Fulton Art Fair is going on. He helped start that. He was the first Black artist to create murals in federal buildings. So he did all the portraits in the Virgin Islands federal buildings. Okay. First Black artist to create greeting cards. So he used to make like Christmas greeting cards, any type of greeting cards with Black faces on them. He had a newspaper called the Avis out in St. Croix. named it after my grandmother, and would use art and cartoon art in order to talk about politics within on the island. He taught at university for as a professor in art. He did, and there's another gamut of other things that he did, but like he was super influential. He wasn't always around because one, he didn't live in Brooklyn, but and he was just always back and forth. But him, and I come from a family of artists, but he was like really the first person that we all knew who really embraced it and went out and did his thing and made it happen. And then like my aunt Sis they weren't married, but Uncle Winston, he played for the national rugby team for Trinidad. But he was he was an elder man. I just love hanging out with Uncle Winston. We would watch soccer together. It was so ill. My aunt, had carpet on the floor, and Uncle Winston, like he would always sit with his feet like this, so much so that, and in the same spot that the carpet was dug out.
I got that in my car too.
Where his feet would be, and we just sit and chill, man. Like, and he was just so cool, yo. He was such a good brother, man. But then there's a plethora of pseudo uncles and brothers that poured into me. But I say that to say that it's so important that we continue to do this, right?
Yep.
And also make sure that our children and us are surrounded by Black men, especially if we don't have family members like that, or if our family members are not in a
space, especially men. I think I'm gonna take that from you and keep going. In a space where they can help the next be what they're supposed to be, because being there physically is one thing. You're a man, I'm there, I'm my father, but like, I could take some. He's younger than me, but I took a lot from him.
Definitely.
And from our story from Midwood was, he's an orphan. So I'm listening to him, and he's a very serious guy. I'm playful because I got mom, dad.
Yeah.
I've never really had nothing tragic happen to me. Oh no, he's a little different. And he's teaching me about how he orders his steps, how he walks and talks, and this is like, you got to do this. Even though Lito he can't just call up mom and dad. He got to bust his ass in college, play ball, take the bus from Brooklyn to Staten Island because he went to CSI. And I'm like, I got it easy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's a Black man. He isn't a father yet. Then he becomes a father before me. So I'm like, let me watch
You
how
my
this
little
goes.
brother.
Yeah. And I'm like, let me watch how he do this. He got married. He this. Oh man, I can't be playing in these streets the way I need to. I want to play. So Lito, you watching? So like you said, having men who are not just there physically, but like I could learn from him. Give it to my daughter. He gives it to his daughter. I give it to the next one, and it's important to have that because, we got all these men sometimes around, and they're just here. And
exactly.
Now,
He's around.
You listed off like a number of men in your life that were important to you. I think that's something else to be aware of, that even if you're not biologically someone's father or even like related to them, right?
Yeah.
Like his daughter's she's my niece. Whenever I come and I see her, I give her a hug and a kiss. She listens to me more than she listens to him. It's like I think she's scared of you. But like, as long as I'm alive, she's gonna be a niece to me, and I'm gonna treat her that way. But just you don't have to be somebody's dad or somebody's biological uncle or whatever to be an influence on them.
Exactly.
So
Definitely.
it's important for all of us to remember.
Super important, man. Like I was just at an event before I came here, Black men's mental health event at Weeksville, and they were talking about, calling in your ancestors, and making sure that you're able to create and continue to cultivate and create relationships with not just people who are in the physical space with you, but who are also on the ancestral plane. But he was like, you need to call on the enlightened ancestors. You can't, because every ancestor you don't want around, right? Every ancestor
that's what I'm saying.
ain't what you in the space or brings in what you need.
Yeah.
The enlightened ones are the ones that you need to call on. And it's the same thing, like we just said. It's like you have to have men in your space who are on the same code.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you ain't on the same code, then we don't really got too much to talk about.
Especially when you're a father.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. I hung around him for how old was she before I became for like 7 or 8 years?
Yeah.
And we on the same time. I'm not a father, so it's not like, okay, we can try. I'm just listening to him, like marriage, because I got married after him, father, and I'm just soaking it all in. And, but I'm not hanging out with dudes who ain't on the same financial, whatever, like in terms of their goals and the way they want to treat their women and stuff like that. Like I'm around a group of guys who became my groomsmen and whatever, and we just on the same time. So I'm lifting myself through them, and they're lifting themselves through me, and it's become now a podcast and a ecosystem of just great men. So you seem like you had a lot of men that just poured into you for years and years, and you're friends now, and then you go through this experience with Shamony and everything. So you go through art. I was gonna ask too about ball, because I know you do ball. Did that help a little bit? Like I know when I go through stuff, give me a basketball, let me go on the court. Did that help or anything like that?
It would have if I was able to get on the court. But yes, you know what it did? Ball, like, especially being a part of a team and understanding like the values that basketball taught me is what really helped me, be built for the journey. Having, first of all, knowing that, like I'm a part of a system. Like I'm not, this is not a solo project. Like I'm not doing this by myself. I'm not in this by myself. I can only, like I said, think about what Omari needs and what Omari wants. This is a team. Yeah. Right. So understanding and knowing that, and then the discipline that ball, brought us, like having them go to practice, having to wake up early and do the tournaments, having to wake up on Saturdays and work, and making sure that you're not working and getting better for yourself, that you're actually doing it to help push your teammates, so that when y'all get out on the court and play other people, like, it's easy because we already did this, at a 2, 3, 4 times level, So understanding the values and like the discipline that ball brought into my life, and being able to utilize it in a different way helped. Like I wish I was able to get on the court, but again, like, but also too having the muscle memory. And my body just being used to doing physical activities constantly made the running a lot easier, right? Yep. It made, like, now I do Tabata, which is pretty much like cross training,
like the 4 movements at a time or something.
Yeah, it's stations, right? But it's 45 minutes, no, it's an hour straight of just work, and you station. So like just being able to physically do those things, so that I can wrestle with, so I can get over that and get into the mental game of doing physical activities. That all came from basketball. That all came from playing ball.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would add like the resilience or the grit piece to it too, because you in practice, you already scrimmage and did drills, and now conditioning, right? You got to do suicides of 17, and you like, I don't want to do this, but you do it. You push yourself. And you push yourself to get better, and once you do it enough, I could do 17 in a minute, and now I'm doing it in 58 seconds. I'm doing it in 56. So you're just getting better and better.
Exactly.
And the camaraderie.
And it doesn't, and that's the thing too. I think people, even just with working out or just with anything really, it doesn't get easier. Like it still hurts. It still sucks, especially right? As you get older. But because I'm getting better and my time is going down, the mental capacity to do it, one, is improving, but also knowing that like this is painful, but I can withstand more pain and I can recover quicker. Like that's what life is about. Like how much can you withstand and how fast can you recover? If you can practice at anything and stay in that mind frame, then you're gonna grow. Like growth is inevitable. Because you can do it. Yep. It's you just how much you actually end up enjoying how much it sucks or hurts, and then how fast can you recover to do it again? You know.
Does
Gotta
the-
embrace the journey.
Yeah,
embrace the
yeah.
journey? Does he understand what's going on?
I mean, yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I
Of course.
don't.
Yeah. So I mean, and this is another type of conversation. I'm glad you asked, but you know, I do a lot of speaking engagements. I tell my
Yeah.
story, you know, and you know the way life is just set up. Sometimes, a lot of the time, those things just happen in the household, right? Like if I'm doing like a virtual podcast, or if I'm doing a meeting or whatever, regardless of the fact, or if I'm doing an event. Most of the time, if not sometimes at the least, but most of the time, they're in the space with me. So I'm sharing the story. They understand the story. He'll tell you in 2 seconds, yeah, my mom died. You know, and as hard as it may be, as hard it is to have that being heard by a 4-year-old, like I'm so thankful for that because it's not sugar coated. Like your mom's not
No, it's not
in another country, or she's not, you know, like
you're not lying. To him.
exactly.
It's
Like
just straight.
there's no space for that.
I love that. You
Mhm.
like, I appreciate people being honest to
Yeah.
children, because you don't want them living in like a fairy tale
Exactly.
land, or not understanding what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then more important than that is not even more important to that. To add to that, he now knows because he still talks about, and my daughter, they still talk about their mother like she's here. We have an altar in our house that we have her pictures on and other ancestors and all the candies and stuff that she likes. We change the candle every time the candle goes out. You know, and they practice and participate in that. So in that participation, they have an opportunity to communicate with her as well. Or if they're drawing pictures, like honestly, half the time I'm not even in the pictures. It's him, my daughter, and their mom. You know, so like they know, like yeah, she's not here, but we're still connected, right? And what they also know too is that even though their mom isn't here, there's other women figures and their female figures in their life.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Like, especially for
Yeah.
your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's the mom, or I know grandma's still around, and both grandma's still around.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
Or do you? She's how old again?
7.
So she's entering that, that phase, like his daughter, puberty and all that comes.
Yeah.
Do you worry? Not worry, but do you? I don't say plan. Like, how does it look? Because now you have to think for both parents, and
Yeah. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I never had a daughter either.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is my first daughter. It's not like if Uriah was a daughter and I went through it already, I could. But I don't know, man. But the thing is that one thing I love and also hate is that, like, my daughter is so wild, like, but she instantly took on this motherly role after her mom passed away. So the way she looks after Kari, or just even anybody else who's in her circle, she does it from a lens of a motherly lens, and then also acts as a support for me. So there's certain things that I wouldn't expect a 7-year-old to do that she does, or even just thinks about. Like if she's gonna go get water, she's getting water for everybody in the room. Like that's just it. If she's, if we're going out and we're going to do something, she's like, "Hey, Dad, did you remember to bring this? Are you gonna do this for this person? Make sure that you get that for that person." Like she's already on that path, which is great, but also sucks because I feel like it takes away from her just
Being a kid.
yeah,
right?
being a kid, but also too like thinking about herself. Like
And I was gonna say maybe you could relate to that. This is the oldest of his
I was
two.
the oldest of 3. So like I was always like my dad died when I was 5, my mom when I was 11. So at 11 years old, it's like kind of you got to step up, right? So it was like I remember my sister, she would cry if she heard the story. She was going to college, and I was in college myself. She's like, I really need a computer. So I did whatever I had to do to scrounge up the money I had and bought her a laptop. I brought it to her, and she like, I can't believe you did this, But it was like, it's my responsibility because you don't really have anybody else.
Yeah.
So, your daughter does have you, but I think that it's a good thing that she takes on that responsibility. But, people, you and her brother, her family remind her, like, also take care of yourself because, there was times where I didn't do that. I gained a bunch of weight and, whatever. because I wasn't really looking into myself to do what I needed to do for me.
And I was gonna ask, so for Omari, right? Like, and this guy's watching this or whatever, you're still relatively young. You're not like, in your 70s and you buried your wife. Forgive me if I go too far, but I'm gonna ask, dating and stuff like that. Like, how does that? I'm not saying like.
Nah, I'm glad you got it. So
yeah.
So that was gonna be my answer to a part of that conversation too, of just like bringing women into my circle and understanding the importance of it. It's something, especially that recently has really been heavy on my mind. Like, they need a mother. They need somebody day to day who's gonna be there in the, in the throes of what we're doing as a family. And it's been difficult because for a couple of reasons, but I think because of the fact that I, now work or, live in this reproductive justice space.
Yeah.
And I talk all the time about, my story and Shamony and, and how, using art and helping families and all that and other fathers and all that great stuff, that it doesn't always allow space for women to feel comfortable coming into the fold, knowing that Shamony is, even though she's not here, she's still very part of this family, and that sometimes that you may be or feel like you're second because of the fact that, again, even though she's not here physically, like she still holds a lot of space, something I think about often. I know that what I will say is that it took me about a solid year to really just be physical with any other female after Shamony passed, because it just felt like cheating. It felt
wrong, right?
Yeah, I was still very connected to her. After that year, and trust me, I tried. Like I was trying to smash, I was trying to do it. It would either feel wrong, like, to be totally honest, like I'd come super quick or something like that, because my body wasn't ready for it,
And your mind.
And my mind, more important, my mind wasn't ready. So after like the second and a half year is where I was like, all right. And again, I'll keep it super funky. Like my body was going through things that was going through stress that I didn't know it was going through. So a year, maybe year and a half, almost 2 years, like when I'd go to the bathroom, like I'd bleed sometimes.
Wow.
And I was like, I felt physically fine. I went to the doctor, got my prostate checked, all that stuff. It was clean as a whistle, guys. I'm good,
Yeah.
But so I really didn't know what was going on, but it was stress. It was a stress that I just didn't recognize, because I felt like, I had all these systems in place to deal with this new life, but my body was like, no, you ain't ready. It ain't working. So it took me that understanding, that realization to be like, I'm not as connected to my body as I thought I was. But whatever. I ended up getting over that. Fast forward, 2.5 years, 3 years in is like when I started really feeling like, okay, like I could go out there, I could be with women, I could do the thing, I could date, I could meet people, and that's where kind of it's needed to start at. And even me having conversations with women and being like, they'd ask me, are you dating? Are you seeing other women? I'm like, hell yes. I'm proud of it, because you don't know the journey it took me for even to be here sitting with you right now.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm seeing all the women. But now I'm at a point where it's like, man, like I really do want to, settle down and really be and create something with somebody. And, I've started kind of putting those pieces into play. But to be totally honest, as I'm going through that process now, it brings up a lot of trauma and a lot of things that I never even had to think of before.
Yeah.
Like just with another woman in your house, like on some kicking it with your children. I would never do that. You know, like everything would be separate. But like, and then seeing the interaction, and I'm a Libra. My brain, like, and I be in my head all the time. So, like on the first date, I'm already thinking about, all right, what are we doing 5 years from now? You know, so like having the vulnerability, I guess, not, or just being, vulnerability is not the right word. The word is being comfortable with the unknown of what would happen and what will bring out, for the fact that you are hanging out with my family now. And that we're like, even like in a space that is not intimate, but it is intimate, right? Like, when I say not intimate,
Not
intimacy,
physically,
you're not physically intimate, right? This is a whole different thing, you know, and like really being comfortable with that is like where I'm at now, whereas I got to just kind of honestly just release that and just be comfortable with navigating this unknown space, and whatever brings, you know, whatever comes of it comes with it, you know. So long story short, I'm dating, I'm trying to find, you know, a person and all the things that come with it. But I think that as a 40-year-old man, or just an older person now, especially an older man, black man with children, who's also like, I quit my job and now I'm just an artist, and I'm doing speaking engagements, and I've become this narrative strategist, this creative. There's a lot of unknowns, and it's like, and it comes back to the working out. Like, let's throw another unknown on top of that, you know, and let's see where this goes. It can be daunting, but it's a part of the journey, you know, and I'm here for the journey.
Yeah, that seems like you're embracing the journey, like, you know, unknown come, but you know,
and good luck out there. I know. I heard a story. I've been married for like 14 years now. Okay. So I've been out the game for a long time. But I got friends that are still looking. They in the streets. Yeah. I heard about the streets.
I hear it's worse. I hear it's worse for women than men.
Yeah.
But what I do know, like, and I'm learning now, is that, like, we all know, like, the price of living in New York.
Oh yeah.
We all know, like, and living in just in general, but specifically in New York, and even more specifically in Brooklyn. And then you take Bed-Stuy. Like, Bed-Stuy is like the most expensive place to live in the world. You know, so like, it was a point where, you know, a woman would take care. I mean, so a man would take care of a woman, which kind of transitioned into now women take care of men, which is like, and it's starting, like, I'm starting to see like this transition of nobody's able to take care of themselves. You know, and it's like, and I'll be super cognizant of that as well. It's like, who am I bringing into my life, and what can they offer me as much as what, even more importantly than what I can offer them. You know, so it is wicked in these streets, man. It's wicked.
That's why I got out.
You got to communicate though, regardless. So, man, communicate. Say all the things and pick the brain.
Yes.
You know, sex is great, but after a while, you know,
you actually got to live with each other outside of the bed. Yeah,
exactly. For real.
Therapy. How important is seeing a therapist going through these things? And do you your children, not mandate, but like, do they see a therapist and all that stuff? Like,
that's a great question. My kids don't see a therapist, and I've never even thought about sending them to therapy. But I think that now that you even brought that up, I think that would be super important for them, because, again, you know, one thing that I am nervous and cognizant about is, you know, even though like we speak about and having, speak about transition and life and death, and how, you know, they're cyclical, and all the experiences that essentially the trauma and grief that our family has gone through, we speak about it out in the open. I worry about how that's going to affect them in the future, right? So it is good to, you know, not sugarcoat stuff, but being able to provide the supports that they need in order for them to deal with their own personal emotions is something that we should be looking into sooner rather than later. You know, so thank you for asking that.
You worked with kids. I work with kids now. I see that, you know, the building blocks before they get to, especially preteen and puberty and all that, and going through the trauma. I tend to think that sometimes people sometimes a little too much, like, it's trauma and there's no normal anymore. Nah, like you need to talk to somebody. Like it's okay. It's okay. And I didn't before my brother passed 16 years ago. Therapy in my culture was like, what are you talking? I'm Nigerian. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? There's no crying. There's none of this. And then marriage counseling. Oh, this is all right. This is dope. I ain't acting like that in front of her. I'm like, yo, this is all right. But then I'm like, oh no. And she's still in our life, our counselor. She was on the podcast 2 weeks ago. So now as a black man, you say, oh, okay, therapy's not so bad. And then you don't, just I talk to people about that stuff and say, go get a therapist. Like it don't even matter. Just go for yourself, everybody, for everything you do in life. We got so much trauma that we need to talk about. You may not be able to get over it, but just talk.
Just talk to somebody.
Just talk to somebody.
Definitely.
I had one question because I heard you on the phone earlier. Sound like I don't know if it was your mom or somebody that you were talking to, but she was going to your house and somebody was at the house. Like I wanted to know like what's the
how's the
because
ecosystem?
you talked about your community and all the people that help. So what's like? I'm saying I'm asking two questions in one. You got the community in place, but I'm also thinking about like what's the day to day, like what's a Tuesday look like?
Gotcha. I'll answer that, but to just go back, Shamony and I were going to couples therapy.
There you
right?
go.
We were going to couples therapy already, and same. I'm like, oh, this is alright. But I loved it because it was an accountability of somebody else to be like, all right,
A referee.
I could, first of all, the things that I'm coming out of my mouth, she ain't trying to hear that shit. She ain't trying to hear me. But if he says it,
Oh yeah.
she can say the same exact thing and she'll listen, right? And then, so it's a referee and then somebody to be like, all right, yeah, I hear he's doing wrong, but what are you doing too?
Yep.
And like, let's have that accountability on both sides. And that really created way more space for us to have a better understanding of a better respect and empathy for what we're going through personally, so that we could come together as a couple. I kept going to my therapist after she passed, and kind of stopped. Like I haven't been to a personal therapist in a couple of years. But my therapist also sits on my board, the foundation that I made.
And I wanted to talk to you about the foundation. We'll get to that.
And I hold space every other Thursday. I created a collective called the Luxor Collective. So essentially, because again, wanting to pay forward the fact that I had, these dope conversations with men who went through the same thing I did, ended up creating a collective where every other Thursday we meet, and it's men who've either suffered from maternal health or from maternal morbidity or the near-death experiences with their partner or tragedy in the healthcare system, whether their partner maybe passed from cancer or something else. And then that really kind of evolved into just being black in America, being a black man in America. And we just hold space, and every other week we have about maybe 10 to 15 to 20 men online, and we just talk. So my therapist comes, my grief counselor comes. I've got men who have their own men's and boys foundations in their own right. There's a lot of dudes who we just come and get together and we just talk, pick a topic and we talk, and that's my therapy, and so it's everybody should have that. And the sad part for me is that my boys don't come. But it hurt me for a while, but I'm also thankful for that as well, because like you got your boys, so you could talk about sports and just day-to-day crap with, but you don't really get into what's going on with you, what you doing, but you have to have a set of men that you go to and able to have those conversations with, and it's okay if they're separate. And it's okay if they're different.
Yep.
And it's fine, but you have to have those things in place.
Yep.
And every man that I know that does is a way more conscious, like grounded person than the men that I know who don't.
Yep.
So I need to go to therapy on a one-on-one. Like I need to start that back up. But again, like I have my groups, that I can pour into differently to get the things that I would need that I know that therapy can provide.
Gotcha.
You know, and as far as my circle, you know, so I was talking to Mama Moot. Mama Moot is like my pseudo grandmother. Like she'll come over, she'll help clean, she'll hang out with the kids if I need her to hang out with the kids. She'll spend the night. They'll spend the night over there. Gives me super advice. Always asking me about what I'm eating. Always telling me all the things I need to do. Shit, I don't want to hear sometimes, but need to hear. You know, and respect and just being thankful that somebody's thinking about me in that way. You know, on a regular day, like I'll bring the kids to school. I'll take them to school. I come home. I do my work, whether it be painting or work around the house, laundry, groceries, whatever it needs to be done as I'm getting it done. I pick them up from school, you know, but sometimes I can't do that because I travel a lot as well. So when I'm traveling, like I've got like just a set of people in my life who I am super comfortable with them being at the house with my children without me, or them going over to their house, or you know, picking them up from school, and like, so there's like a group of people, and Mama Moon is one of them. So my daughter and my son went to Little Sun People as a daycare in Brooklyn. It's an African Center daycare.
I think I know one of your Lola.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she knows Shamony.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nah, but that tribe of people, women specifically mamas in that space, they're all super dope, super amazing. One of their teachers, she also babysits them. She makes sure their hair's braided. She'll come to the house when I have to leave out. She'll come to the house, spend the night. You know, make sure that they're good, take them to school, all that stuff. My best friend Jerry, you know Jerry. He went to.
Oh yeah, Jerry, Big Jerry.
Yeah, man. So Jerry will hold him down for me. You know, so like
look at that.
It's man. It's a old friends, new friends. Pseudo aunties and other babas and mamas. And they all get together and they do that because they love the kids, you know, and they're supportive of me and they want to make sure that I'm good. And like, I know, like, for me, it's super important because when I'm out here in the world and I'm speaking about fatherhood and reproductive justice and, you know, racism, discrimination, all the things as an activist, like, they know that I'm out there and what I'm doing, and I'm not out there, you know, on some bullshit. Like, I need a weekend to go to Vegas to blow all my money.
You should get one of those too, though.
You should, but, you know, I'm not out there doing that. And they know that, and they respect that. And that's why, you know, like, they make sure that I don't have to necessarily think about how the kids are doing if I'm away from them and not with them. You know, and I'm super thankful and grateful for that because, you know, being out here and sharing our story and doing this type of work, it's not easy work, you know, in any way, shape, or form, but it is 1,000 times easier when you have people who, you know, are pouring into you and pouring into your children and doing it in a manner that they don't necessarily expect anything from you, you know, like, and it's hard to find, you know, that type of love and community and respect is hard to find, you know, but it is out there. And I think it's a lot easier to find when you are in a space where you can just let people know who you are, you know, and what you're about, and you constantly sharing your energy, you know, like real energy, you know. So yeah, man, like that's the family, that's the team, that's the community, that's the tribe. You know, they hold me down, and I do my best to make sure that I hold them down. You know,
so that's amazing, man. Like I was just because the reason I asked that, I'm thinking about, you know, how we get through the day. My wife and I, like, you know, go to school, you got to work, whatever. Then it's like, oh, who gonna pick up? Because I got a meeting at 3 o'clock. You know, it's all these things going on. So I was curious to see, you know, how you handled that. You got the system in place and the tribe and everything. That's amazing.
I heard that in the interview, and I listened to a couple of times because I'm like, you never know until you know. Like, I know Omari. Like, oh, did you know? Oh no, I didn't know. So I'm listening. I'm like, he said community. Like, I don't even think they asked you, Charlamagne or whoever asked you, but you said I gotta big up my community because that's a big thing. And I couldn't do it without him. Couldn't do it without her mom, my mom. Like, And a lot of times we don't, we think we could do a lot of things on our own. Parenthood? Nah. We could do a lot of things, but not.
These kids drive me fucking crazy, Like, I'll be like, it's so crazy. Like, I have an alarm. Like, my body has an alarm. But like 9:15, like the cool, calm, let's breathe and think, Omari, like that. Like, this shit is done. Go to sleep. This is it. It's over.
I go like, go to sleep. Like, and then I, as a new father, I tried to be, gentle and all that. Now I'm getting to the you messing with me now.
Exactly.
Like, you messing with me. Like, I know what you're doing. You getting upstairs. I'm hungry. You just ate. I know you did. But that's the new phase in me. Like and then he come and she look at him like, oh, I can't play with this guy.
I'm drill sergeant all the time. Not all the time, but when it's time to do what you need to do, go take a shower, go brush your teeth, go to bed. Like,
that's it.
There's no discussion.
Exactly. There's no gray area.
There's no gray area. Right just now. Do it. Get into just something a little fun. As we're getting to know Omari, the people who don't know him, ask him some questions. What we call this or that, dad, this or that. Would you rather a night out with your kids, or alone time knowing someone has them and you and your thoughts? Nah?
Alone time.
Alone time. That's it. Yeah. That was easy. I would say.
Yeah, I want that.
Yeah, okay.
Not this. Don't give me this. I want
that. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee?
Yeah.
All right. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
You like the morning owl?
I like the morning, man. Give me the morning time. Like once they go to sleep, I tell myself I'm staying up for 3 hours. I'm gonna watch this movie. 5 minutes later, the movie's watching me. So I need the morning.
I can't do the mornings, because one, she's up before me. She's walking on my face. I'm like, yo, come on. I'll be up to 3. No, I'll be in the group chat 3 a.m.
Ain't nobody else up, but.
But the morning, I never got used to it. I always got to get up. And my mom, drill sergeant like him. Mm-hmm. You going to school. You got to have your stuff ready at night. You go straight to bed. Wake up at 6. At Midwood, I was taking the train to the junction. I never liked the morning, man. And now as a father, I really don't like it. But I'm getting used to it.
Thankfully, these guys, like, once he sleeps, he'll be asleep till about 10 a.m. Sometimes 10:30. Wow. Like, he sleep.
He's been like that since
he was young, yeah.
Oh my God.
Since he was younger. Nari, she'll get up like around 8:30, 9-ish. But neither one of them, they was never like a 5, 6 o'clock. Let's rock and roll.
Lucky.
Yeah, super lucky.
Your workout routine. How often you work out? Like, I see you at the gym on Instagram all the time.
Like, at least I try to go 4 times a week if I can.
Okay.
3 times is usually like the sweet spot. But yeah, man, I've got to go at least 3-4 times a week.
Wow. Yeah. I try. I got the tonal here. I can't even get over there.
Yeah. I find it easier to get out the house.
Yeah, that people tell me that.
Yeah.
I was there. I'm gonna get to it.
Yeah, right. It's too comfortable.
It's too comfortable.
And group. Like, I stopped going to the gym. I'll go to the gym when I used to have time. I'd go to the gym and I'd be in there for like 2.5 hours just because I don't got that time. I need an hour, and I need to do it with groups of people to help push me to know, like, all right, with this hour that I got, I'm gonna go super, super, super hard. I'm gonna get 2 days of work in this 1 hour. Because if I don't do it otherwise, I'll either be doing it halfway or I won't really be doing it at all.
Yeah. We got
I got a couple.
Okay, one more for me. Because I don't forget. Books or movies?
Oh man,
you got it.
So I want to say books.
Yeah.
I was reading like crazy during the pandemic, but I fell off super hard. So I'll say movies. I love me a good series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For your family, movie night or game night?
Movie night.
What kind of movies y'all like?
The kids, they like Shrek. They watch Shrek with their grandmother all the time. We watched Jumanji yesterday.
That movie is hilarious.
Yeah,
It's mad funny. You ever seen that?
Jumanji's
Jumanji.
like-
Wait, which Kevin Hart?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about
Good 95.
original
Yeah,
with
Robin
Robin
Williams.
Williams.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about
yeah, that's what I'm thinking when I hear
Yeah,
Jumanji.
yeah.
But
The new one is funny.
Yeah,
Y'all
the
should
new
watch
one's
that
funny
one
too.
next.
okay.
But yeah, they like stuff like that.
Board games or video games?
I don't play video games anymore. Board games.
Okay. Okay.
One last one. 'Cause I got a bunch. Family dinner or eating on the go? Like sitting down to eat or?
Yeah, family dinner.
Favorite Trinidadian dish?
Oxtail.
Give me
Oxtail, peas, and rice, cabbage.
Okay. I want to talk about your foundation, and we can wrap it up. Just give you some time to talk about. I think you said two. You have your men's group every other week, and then your foundation. Can you talk about
Yeah,
that?
of course. My foundation is called the ARIA Foundation,
Okay.
which stands for the Advancement of Reproductive Innovation through Artistry and Healing. So what ARIA is we use all artistic modalities in order to create innovative ways to share the story around maternal health, reproductive justice, and really being intentional about using art as edutainment, right? And trying, and not even trying, making sure that we're creating pathways to have conversations outside of just where nurses, doctors, healthcare practitioners, insurance companies are involved. Like we're really focused on being in spaces and places and having conversations with people or in industries who are not really thinking about healthcare in that way. We're not even thinking about having children, right? Because when we're talking about reproductive justice, we were talking about a cog in the healthcare system, but the healthcare system doesn't necessarily do what it needs to do for Black and brown people in general. So then that turns into a bigger conversation of what pathways we're using to redirect and really rethink about systemic racism. So Luxor is under, the ARIA Foundation, which is like, again, a men's group that we meet every other week to open space to have conversations around anything Black and brown related that Black men go through, but was a space that was created because of the maternal health crisis and through Shamony Gibson.
Gotcha.
Then we have another space, which is essentially the same thing, but for women, called Remembering You, Remembering Us. We do an event. We do a couple of events every year. Our next event is going to be in October, which is the Motherhood Conference, which is an event that it's an event that Shamani's mother, Shawnee, started with her daughter Jasmine to talk about the darker side of reproductive justice and talk about the journey of her daughter Jasmine and Shawnee, because they had medical complications. Shawnee had suicidal ideologies with all of her children, and how they've used art and storytelling as a way to transfer, redirect that energy, and open up conversations for people to be able to share about their own personal stories. Then we have an event called Back to Black, which stands for back to Black men leading, advocating, and covering. And the importance, and that's about the importance of having more men, having more Black men in this maternal health conversation.
Yes, sir.
When we're talking about Black women, these are our women. We have to make sure that we are understanding of what's going on, but also cognizant of what roles we play as a community of men and how we can support each other in this maternal health space so that we can now support our women, our families, our community. And then we have an event called Ubuntu, and Ubuntu stands for, I am because we are. So Ubuntu is an event where we have visual arts, all types of arts, visual arts, performance arts, panel discussions. It's a one-day event. And what else? Dance, song, everything. We get the community together to, again, make sure that we understand the importance of you can't do anything without community. You are everything you are because of the people who are around you. And that's it. And then, what other projects we have? I know I'm forgetting something. Speak, Move, Change. Postpartum Awareness Week. So Postpartum Awareness Week is a week that our foundation started in order to align with Black Maternal Health Week. So Black Maternal Health Week is a weekend long national conversation around not just maternal health, but all the things that women need in their maternal health process. But Postpartum Awareness Week is super important because that's where we lose most of our women. Most of our women who've passed away due to maternal health crisis pass away the day of or within the next year of them, delivering and giving birth. So Postpartum Awareness Week is to talk about all things of postpartum and it's a virtual experience. So
that's cool.
It's nutrition, it's politics, it's policy, it's innovation and how we use our spaces and places to hold our women up, men, and what we do it as fathers. So it is 5 days, 7 days, 5 days of all things postpartum. And then that kind of pretty much closes our cyclical year out. But we've got a whole bunch of other things in the work, man. I'm working on a app for fathers for paternal app. So not just fathers, but partners supporting their partner in the reproductive justice process. I'm working on a children's book. Yeah, man, we've got a whole lot of other working on a network, a TV series, so just trying to make sure that, again, now that I have space, time, and bandwidth, and I'm not locked down to a 9 to 5, and I'm like, fuck, where is all the things going to come from? I'm learning and very quickly that you need to create the things that you want, so I'm working on making sure that I do just that.
Got a lot going on. You said that you do speaking engagements too. Are you speaking anywhere anytime soon?
Yeah, I'll be speaking. I'm doing an event on Thursday. The next event I'm doing is on Thursday in DC with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll be up in DC. They have their second annual Black Men's Health and Mental Health Conference. And I'll be speaking there on Thursday, and that's a one-day trip. And then I'm flying to Boston the next day to do a Father's Day brunch with this organization called the Resilient Sisterhood Project. And they're putting together a Father's Day brunch, but it's specifically Bikino in there, but specifically around Black men having conversations around maternal health and how I use art in order to create and raise more awareness around the conversation. So that's what's coming up next week. But I'll be all around. I'm gonna be in Kentucky in July, no, in August. I got a couple of joints coming up in July, some stuff that I'm working on at the end of June. So if you want to keep posted and want to be abreast, check me out.
We're gonna put the links on awesome. YouTube for everything. I'm gonna get that from. We're gonna get that from you. And I wanted to ask you because where can we find you? But I'm gonna put his Instagram and all the links on the bottom of the captions on any platform you're on. But you want to say something? I'm sorry, I cut you off with that.
No, I was gonna say that. I was gonna do my plug.
No, we're gonna let you do the plug.
Cool. So we're good.
One last question, and I'm recording this because I want to put this up today. Are you religious?
So I went to a Lutheran. So Andrew Gray. I don't know if you know Andrew.
He went to Midwife?
He didn't go to Midwife.
Oh, okay.
But he was in the hood.
Okay.
But you even grew up in Flatbush.
I'm Clear Hill guy.
But so my family never made me go to church. Like that wasn't really a thing. We went to Easter Sunday, stuff like that.
Yeah, Easter Sunday, New Year, Christmas,
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But I used to go to Sunday school with my boy Andrew. I used to go to a Lutheran church, and then I ended up going to a Lutheran school in the 6th grade. But I never really picked up a spiritual, a religious practice. But I'm definitely very spiritual. And I understand and believe that, church essentially is anywhere we make it. You know, and this is why I say it's so important for you to have that set of group of people where you could just one emote and get, you know, get the things that you needed to get off your chest, but also two, to have intergenerational conversations, you know, and in those intergenerational conversations with the elders as well as with the youth, that's where you can really understand it and get all the medicine you need, that, you know, church and I feel like religion provides.
Yep.
You know, so
and I asked that because of I know when I went through it, I'm not sure if you went through it, the questioning of God. Why me?
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Definitely.
Why them?
Why is this person still fucking walking around on this earth?
Thank you.
And like, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, but that's why the elders are so important, man, you know? And even like the youth or the people who we, you know, look at as comrades are so important. Because nobody knows those questions, but like I know that I was tested and put through something in order to then share it with people, in order for me to really understand the importance of life and children and youth and all the great things that happen to you, but even more importantly, all the fucked up shit that happens to you, and like how it all is and equates to something and means something, you know. So I definitely believe in a higher power. There's definitely, you know, somebody, I don't necessarily say pulling strings, but guiding all of us, you know, and testing all of us for whatever the next thing is, you know, in our secular lives. But yeah, man. But yeah, I've definitely asked those questions, man.
Well, Omari, I'd like to thank you for coming through. You responded very quickly. He's a very down-to-earth guy. Known him for over 20-something years. And it's, Omari, hey, we're doing a podcast. Anything I could do to help, brothers. Literally, that's what he said. So it was great having you here and bringing your young king down here. And anything else you want to say to
y'all really is, you know, like just thank y'all for putting this together. Thank you for doing this, man. Like we are, a lot of us are fathers, you know, but a lot of us don't, to have the acumen to not only be like, yo, let me ask my brother these questions about fatherhood, but to be able to create something like this, to be able to bring people in all the nuances that it takes to be a good father, or the questions that we have that as young people that we didn't have the answers to because we didn't know who to ask the questions to. Nobody was sharing the playbook. You know, so the fact that y'all put this together, man, intentionally, and didn't just say, "Hey, let's do a podcast," and then
we've been down that road
10 months later, hey, let's do a podcast. And 3 years later, hey, let's do a podcast. The fact that y'all, and you could go through that, but the fact that you actually did it, you know, and more importantly, continue to do it, because that's really the hardest part.
It's hard.
Is making sure that y'all are consistent with it. Man, like, I'm thankful, man. It's so important. We need this. We need these opportunities to be able to share and have these conversations, but to just be able to put eyes on each other and, you know, have a reason to get up, because as we get older, we need reasons to do things sometimes, you know. So again, just thank y'all, man. This has been a very special experience for me. To be able to do it with fellow midwife heads is even more special, you know, because I was talking to a brother the other day, you know, like, and just thank you to your mother, your parents, and my parents as well, like, for putting us on a path. You know, like, I was talking to a brother the other day. Our kids go to PS11 together. Oh, he ended up going to. He went to
3 blocks from PS11.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
Nice,
so you know, we talk about that.
Yeah. But he went to Huddy, and then he graduated at Huddy. He didn't go to Midway. He ended up going to Bronx Science, and then. But long story short, like, we were always in the same circles, you know, and it wasn't by an accident. It was because our parents put us in these circles to make sure, like, You going to that school because they got good education. You going to this school because they got good programs. But you know what? But you don't think about those things as young people because we just going through it.
Yeah, we just doing it.
Right. But as an adult, the people that I've met, the education that I've had, the things that I've learned, I know only a handful of people are able to share in that. So you are and have this house and doing this thing because of the path.
Yep.
Same as you, same as me, you know?
Yep.
So like, I'm just thankful and grateful that, you know, we were put on a certain path. And, you know, we need to make sure that we continue to do this so that we could get our children on that same path. Because we live in a ecosystem that is very small.
Yeah.
You know, because I've been around, you know, and outside of this ecosystem, the world is nasty, man. It's nasty business,
it's
man.
Nasty
you know?
work, as they say.
Yeah, man.
It's nasty work. But we here.
Thankful.
Yeah, we breathing. We here. Lito. Sorry.
Nah, yeah, just Omari, I appreciate you. You rattled off your schedule. Sounds like you're super busy.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming and talking to us. I'm personally not impressed by a lot of people, but you are very impressive.
I appreciate it.
So when I say that, it's with the highest gratitude. But thank you again.
Of course. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank
Definitely.
you. You still want to do a plug thing, but
oh yeah,
like
I mean, you know, IG Omari Maynard. My handle name is M_U_Z. Our foundation's IG account is theariafoundation.org. The Aria Foundation. Our website is theariafoundation.org. You can find my artwork and my website is omarimaynard.com. And yeah, that's it. Come check me out, man.
And again, I'll put it. We'll put everything on the lower third and bottom of the screen. This has been another episode of the Daddy Issues podcast. This is a good one. I always say recommend it to your friends. Subscribe, like. We all going through something, and to be able to sit here with a brother that we basically grew up with, playing ball and everything, and seeing the transition of all of us becoming fathers and leaders of the community. This is something I think that was just totally special. And again, I want to thank you, Omari, for being who you are and inspiring all of us to just be better for our kids and be better fathers and just keep waking up every day. Because, you know, definitely. And this might help wake somebody up tomorrow who's going through it.
If this podcast doesn't do anything, you see this? It'll put the kids to sleep.
Bedtime routine.
It's bedtime. Daddy Just Your Podcast, Lito?
Now we out. That's it.
That's it. All right.